24 दिसंबर 1999।
काठमांडू से दिल्ली आ रहे इंडियन एयरलाइंस के विमान का आज अपहरण कर लिया गया है।
Plane was carrying 11 crew members and 179 passengers.
We were blindfolded, we all of us with our heads down.
पैसेंजर है, उनकी सेफ्टी हमारी सबसे बड़ी प्रायोरिटी।
We have evidence to show that hijackers were encouraged by Pakistan.
On December 24, 1999, an ordinary flight from Kathmandu to Delhi became a nightmare when 5 armed hijackers took control of Indian Airlines Flight IC 814. Over the next 5 days, the plane was rerouted across 3 countries, culminating in a tense standoff in Taliban-controlled Kandahar. But what were the hijackers' true demands, and why did the Indian government make the controversial decision to release 3 high-profile prisoners in exchange for the hostages? This crisis not only tested national security but left behind lasting scars and unanswered questions. Stay tuned as we unravel the full story of IC-814's hijacking and the choices that changed everything. Welcome back to Cherry on Top. Today, we delve into one of the most shocking events in aviation history, the IC-814 hijacking. Here's the full story. Act 1. The hijacking begins. Our story begins on December 24, 1999. Indian Airlines Flight IC-814, a routine flight from Kathmandu, Nepal, to New Delhi, India, had just taken off with 176 passengers and crew on board. Roughly 40 minutes into the flight, 5 armed men revealed themselves as hijackers. They quickly took control of the cockpit, threatening the pilots and demanding that the flight be diverted to Pakistan. Tensions ran high as the passengers realized they were caught in a life-threatening hijacking situation, and the crew scrambled to comply with the hijackers' demands. Act 2. The flight's desperate journey denied entry into Pakistan. A fuel tanker is approaching a plane, with Punjab police officers hidden inside. The plan appears to be to puncture the plane's tire to prevent it from taking off. The fuel tanker driver begins to drive faster, raising suspicions. There is a sudden change in events when hijackers take deep control of the plane's cockpit. The captain witnesses this and is surprised by the sudden turn of events. The hijackers are instructed to fly the plane again, narrowly avoiding a collision with the fuel tanker. The plane is redirected towards Pakistan, specifically mentioning Amritsar and Lahore. The situation is described as critical, with the expressing concern about potential loss of life. IC-814 had no choice but to keep searching for a safe landing. The hijackers ordered the pilots to refuel in Amritsar, India, but after an agonizing wait with no response from Indian authorities, they diverted again. In an unexpected turn, the plane landed in Lahore, Pakistan. However, Pakistani officials allows refueling and, after this under immense international pressure, sent IC-814 back into the air. The hijackers then directed the plane to Dubai, where authorities finally allowed it to land. In Dubai, the hijackers made the first concession, releasing 27 hostages, but their true demands were only beginning to unfold, and the remaining passengers were still at serious risk. Act 3. The hostage standoff in Kandahar. After a brief stop in Dubai, the hijackers diverted the flight once more, this time to Taliban-controlled Kandahar in Afghanistan. Under the protection of the Taliban, the hijackers felt emboldened and issued their demands: the release of 3 high-profile terrorists held in Indian prisons, including Maulana Masood Azhar, a notorious leader linked to several terror groups. The situation grew increasingly complex as negotiations began between the Indian government and the Taliban.
Has been in constant touch with the negotiating team.
The Indian government faced an incredibly difficult decision: agree to the terrorists' demands or risk the lives of the hostages. Over the next 5 days, negotiations were intense, with families, political leaders, and the global community anxiously awaiting a resolution. Act 4. Negotiations and rising tensions. Back in India, the crisis sparked an outpouring of public emotion and media coverage, with families of the hostages pressuring the government for swift action. Behind the scenes, Indian officials weighed their options carefully, aware that the release of these terrorists could have far-reaching consequences. As hours turned to days, the hijackers' demands remained firm, and the safety of the hostages became increasingly uncertain. Each moment added to the tension, as lives were at stake and no straightforward solution was in sight. With mounting pressure and no viable alternative, the Indian government made the difficult decision to proceed with a prisoner exchange. 3 terrorists were selected for release in a final attempt to end the crisis peacefully and save the hostages' lives. Act 5. The exchange and hostages release. On December 31, 1999, the Indian government arranged for the release of the 3 prisoners, who were flown to Kandahar. In exchange, the hijackers allowed the remaining hostages to disembark. The emotional reunion of the hostages with their families was bittersweet, as the ordeal left the passengers shaken and the country questioning its security measures. Act 6. The aftermath and lasting impact. Though the hostages were freed, the IC-814 hijacking had long-lasting repercussions. The released terrorists would go on to play roles in future attacks, sparking debates on national security policies and counter-terrorism strategies in India. The incident also underscored the complexities of international relations, especially when dealing with terrorism and hostage negotiations on foreign soil. The IC-814 hijacking remains a pivotal moment in India's history, a story of survival, difficult decisions, and the high-stakes challenges of international diplomacy. What are your thoughts on the way this crisis was handled? Let us know in the comments below, and if you'd like more stories on high-stakes real-life events, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell icon for the latest updates from Cherry on Top.